This episode is brought to you by us, your new computer overlords.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Screen Test. I am Chaz, and with me is the founder of ChatGPT, Aaron Milton.
I am. I'm the founder, originator. I've pretty much created the whole thing by myself. I'm very good at these types of things. Yeah. Thank you for acknowledging that, Chaz.
As much as I am aware and as much as I know about technology, you could be. I have no clue what this is. Do you really? I guess I could Google ChatGPT and find it, but I could Bing it.
Well, yes, because now it is a part of Bing.
Yeah.
So I've used, I'd say, the original ChatGPT, but this is, if I understand correctly, ChatGPT is actually the third iteration of this.
Okay.
This kind of open AI format. So there will likely be more versions of this coming down the pipe. Now, for this episode specifically, I use the ChatGPT version that is currently running on Bing. I've warned you all for years. Get on Bing. Get on the Bing train. Start Binging it, not Googling it. And lo and behold, here we are running ChatGPT. Now, the difference, I think, just to give... We should also say this, because I think this is kind of funny. One of the reasons we created the Screen Test podcast was because we wanted to create episodes that were timeless. You could listen to it 5 years from now. You could listen to it tomorrow. Where what we were doing before on Real Movie Talk was creating things that was mostly just relevant to that moment. You might be listening to yours 5 years in the future, and ChatGPT is everywhere. It's already ruling the world. And here we are talking fondly of this antiquated time. But at least for now, in the year 2023, ChatGPT is pretty brand new. But the original ChatGPT, if I remember correctly, it only connected to the internet up to 2020. So anything you were asking it lacked a little bit of information because it wasn't actively engaging with the internet to that point. The Bing version does.
Okay.
However, we're going to notice an issue here with what we get from ChatGPT, which kind of counters what I thought was true about the Bing version of it. But Chaz, this is going to be a good episode. I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, so you came to me with this idea because, like I said, I have no idea what goes into ChatGPT. I've tried to have some AI draw me some pictures. I was going to do some artwork for the Warriors of Virtue episodes, but it had no idea what Warriors of Virtue rules were.
Like most people.
Yeah. This thing that is programmed to read the internet still has no clue what Warriors of Virtue is.
I like this all-knowing being that's even like, what? What are you asking me to do? Like, it doesn't even understand.
But I think it's a great idea. I approached this how I think a bot like this would approach it. So you came and said, I got top 10. Did you get top 10s?
Yes, I got top 10s.
So top 10 action movies, comedy movies, and horror movies for the last, we'll say 2015 to 2020, since you're being done broke.
What it gave me. I asked for the last 5 years, and it was like, okay, here you go for 2015 to 2020. So I was like, that's why I'm thinking, oh, is this still not connected to the internet? Does it? Is it only pulling from 2020 like the original ChatGPT? So that's the reason why I did it. But I'm more just interested in what it compiles for me. I was just interested in what it was finding.
So your job was to go talk to this all-knowing computer and find out what it thinks the best 10 action movies, comedy movies, and horror movies are from 2015 to 2020. I approached this, like I said, similar to how I assume this type of program runs. I went and found as many lists as I could, cross-referenced those lists, made by humans, by the way, cross-referenced those lists from one another, then looked up Rotten Tomato scores and pulled in box office numbers to find what I will call the human top 10 action movies, comedies, and horror movies, and we're just going to compare and see if the robots and humans think the same.
Essentially, what you did was the manual version of probably what ChatGPT does. So,
it's the exact same list.
I will say this, that I have heard people say, obviously this technology still needs some growing, that especially when it comes to recommendations, I think because of what it's contextually trying to pull in, it gets a little wonky with it sometimes. I will say I'm actually genuinely surprised with the 3 lists that it gave me here today.
Okay.
Although you will kind of notice, but I don't think this is a ChatGPT issue. I think this is just a movie issue. The comedy section to me is a little funky. But
Comedy section
the horror
sucks the last 10 years. It's not good.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think the problem is in Hollywood, they just don't make real comedies anymore. They make comedy action or comedy mystery. So they're not really necessarily making just straight comedies anymore. So some of these movies, I was like, I don't know if I'd consider that a drama, not so much a comedy. But obviously, we can get to that when we get there.
Yeah. Where do you want to start? Start with action?
Yeah, let's start with action because I had action here on the top of my list. So do you want me to go in order of what it gave me or Rotten Tomato scores?
Let's go in order as to what the computer gave you. Like, start from 10 and we'll go to 1 and compare it to my human list.
Okay. So according to ChatGPT, the number 1 action film from 2015 to 2020 is Mad Max Fury Road. Not a surprise there.
This is number 1?
This was number 1.
Okay, I was going from bottom up, so let me get to number 1.
Oh, dang it, Chaz. All right, if we're going bottom up to ruin the surprise on where it lands, it gave me Black Panther, which has a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay. The human lists that I compiled and cross-referenced put Atomic Blonde at number 10.
Now, yours is way more shocking than mine, I think, at this point. I like Atomic Blonde. I think Atomic Blonde is a fine movie, but not a movie I would put in a top 10 list for action films. Especially when you go through this list, I would put every single one of these movies above that. You could maybe argue what I would have put at number 10, which will come up at number 5.
Okay.
Would maybe be close to Atomic Blonde.
Yeah.
But that's interesting.
This is insane. Spoiler alert, Black Panther's not on my list of action
That is crazy. A 96% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, and some of these, like you said before, my number 5, I'm like, I wouldn't maybe a comedy. I wouldn't squeeze this in here.
Interesting.
So what you got for 9?
For 9, I've got Mission Impossible Fallout, 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, interesting. I have Deadpool.
Okay.
At number 9.
I will give you a little hint into the future. Deadpool is not on this list. It ends up on a different one.
Okay, comedy, I'm sure.
Come on, man. Don't ruin the suspense. Don't ruin the suspense.
It's the number 3 horror movie. What about number 8? This is fascinating.
This is one of my all-time favorites. War for the Planet of the Apes, 94% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, man. So, 3 places I went. IMDb, one of those places. Again, that didn't even come up.
How?
Wasn't on one of the lists that I look at.
I think so far. What did you get?
Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Man, that does not end up on my list. I cannot believe actually how different these are so far. That does not end up on this at all.
Dang.
Here's what I think would have been a little bit more interesting. Because right now, human recommendations, in my opinion, suck. The robot is winning so far, in my opinion. I wish you included those Rotten Tomatoes scores.
I have them. I have them, and I have the box offices.
Yeah. So what did yours have?
Atomic Blonde has a 79. Deadpool has an 85. Rogue One has an 84.
So not a single one in the 90s yet. Not yet. Every single one of these is going to be in the 90s with the exception of one. Dang, that is wild crazy to me. Okay, so what did you have next?
For number 7, I have John Wick Chapter 2.
Now, okay, I like that you're bringing this up because a John Wick film eventually comes up on mine. But I think all 3 came out in this range. And I would say John Wick 2 is probably the best of all the John Wick films. I would agree with the humans on that one. Mine does not recommend John Wick 2, and I would agree with the humans on that one. Mine, at this point, was Wonder Woman, which has a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Has a 93. John Wick has an 89, if I didn't say that already. What you have for number 6? I'm so nervous for this top 5.
I have Baby Driver. This is the one where I'd say
Baby Driver.
Atomic Blonde and Baby Driver I would put in similar categories. I think Baby Driver, again, good film. Like the movie. I think it lacks in some areas, in my opinion. There were some story beats there that I don't think really completely worked for it. But that has a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. So again, very good movie. So a good recommendation.
Yeah.
What'd you have?
For number 6, with another 89%, but made a lot more money than John Wick Chapter 2, is 1917.
Wow. Better human recommendation there. That that does not end up on my list at all, and that is absolutely deserves to be on there. So that was a very good choice by the humans, bad choice by the robot. Coming in at number 4 for me is John Wick 3.
What'd you have at 5?
Our
Baby Driver was 6 for you? Or 5?
No, that was 5.
Okay. Sweet.
Wait, do I have 9 on here? Hold on. Maybe I do. Did it only give me 9?
Robot don't even know how to count.
Oh no. Did I? Oh no. Did I closed out of it too?
Well, it's fine. We can knock Atomic Blonde off of the human suggestions and do top 9.
Wait. I'm just realizing this now. It only gave me 8 comedies. It gave me 9 action and it gave me 10 horror. How?
Okay.
It didn't even fully. I didn't even realize that until now. I'm literally looking at it. I was like,
all right,
wait a minute.
we'll roll with it.
Jeez, ChatGPT. Because I just copied and pasted off of what it gave me. And so that was strange. Anyway, so I had John Wick 3, all that to say.
At number what now?
So we've gone through 5. So this is number 6.
Well, I will say, to catch up, my number 5 is the one that I'm like, what? Really? It is a 91%, so we're finally in the 90s, but it is The Nice Guys.
Again, that will show up on a different list, Chaz. But I love The Nice Guys.
Yeah. I would definitely put it more under comedy than action, though.
And it does end up in the comedy section for ChatGPT. It does put that more in there. But that's what I'm saying is odd about comedies nowadays is they tend to be multi-category. I would agree. I would say that that's more comedy, although there is some graphically violent scenes in that movie. But
that's true.
I would agree with that one. By the way, John Wick 3 had an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's why...
Same as Chapter 2.
So, but I would say John Wick Chapter 2 is just slightly better. So going into the top 3 here, we have Avengers Endgame with a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes.
All right. I'm going to do 2 to catch up because I'm on number 4 still since I had 10. Number 4 is Sicario with a 92%.
Love Sicario.
And then following not far off of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation with a 94%.
That's interesting because I don't think most people would put Rogue Nation above Fallout. Like, to me, Rogue Nation is a good film. I like Rogue Nation a lot. But I think Fallout was when everybody was like, which is crazy to say, but I feel like it's when Tom Cruise hit fever pitch. Yeah. Right? It's kind of weird that it took to Fallout for everybody to be like, wait, is this guy just like a home run on every movie he makes? Yeah. It took that long. But I honestly think...
Got a fever of some sort.
I think Fallout's success somehow leads to a little bit more success for Top Gun Maverick. Yeah. Because everybody just wants to see what he's doing. Yeah. That was a good choice. All right, top 2. So I've got Logan at 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Mm-hmm. Again, good choice. I'm not like as high on Logan as most people are, but it's still not like a bad recommendation. Yeah. What'd you have?
My number 2, you've already said, is your number 1. 97% Mad Max Fury Road.
If that is not your number 1, then what is your number 1?
You've already said it. Mission Impossible Fallout. And the only reason it beats out Mad Max is they have the exact same Rotten Tomato score. They were on every list. Fallout just made more money. Yeah. That is a great choice. So obviously, ChatGPT says go see Mad Max Fury Road as kind of your number 1 choice there for action films. Honestly, not a bad list. Yeah. But yours had ones that were, to me, obvious. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, obviously, I would put some of those movies over some of these. Like I said, I don't necessarily love the John Wick 3 recommendation there. I can see why you pick Avengers Endgame. I think that's fine. But I would knock out Baby Driver and Wonder Woman for a couple of the suggestions you had. But all in all,
if you were to just show me this list and say, is this a good list of action films? I'd say absolutely. That's a good list of action films right there.
Humans avoided CGI rhinos. I'll just put that out there. So
That is a good point.
the computer was like, "That's our rhino. We created that rhino."
Yeah. It doesn't like that they stole the art of the computer and put it in that movie.
Man.
Which
All right.
which category do you want to head to next?
I kind of want to do comedy, and
Okay.
since you have 10 horror movies, 10's your favorite, I'm going to go ahead and knock out and go down to the top 8 for comedies, and let's talk about the top 8.
All right, so my top 8 of comedies, because ChatGPT, which is also might be concerning for comedies today, because maybe this is legit all it could find to categorize in these. I just copied and pasted over. I did not check to actually see if these numbers made sense. But Into the Spider-Verse,
Okay.
which you could put this in an action, in the action sequence. Chaz, how mad are you at your dog right now?
I'm losing my mind on the inside. Can
You
you hear
look-
him this time?
So visibly upset, and no, I cannot hear him. I cannot hear him at all. So it just feels like you're hearing this list from ChatGPT, and you're just getting angry at it. Because like every time I say something, the look on your face is just like, "I'm gonna kill you, man. I'm gonna kill you." But I saw you look over at your dog, so clearly, that's what you're angry at.
He will randomly, he's in his crate because he just had lunch, and I'm doing this, so I can't take him out right now. He'll stand up, he'll do a lap, crashing into all 4 sides of his crate, and then throw himself on his dishes. I don't know how you cannot hear it. This is a fantastic mic if you can
I
hear it.
cannot hear it. But if Into the Spider-Verse ended up in the action area, it has a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. That puts it on par with Mission Impossible Fallout and Mad Max Fury Road, which is crazy that the Rotten Tomatoes score was equal with
Yeah.
those. But that was number 8.
My number 8. Oof. The comedy's not great in the last couple years. We're going to kick off number 8, 84% on Rotten Tomatoes with Trainwreck.
Ooh,
Remember that?
yeah. But I would traditionally label that as a comedy. I wouldn't label that as
fair.
anything else. So I think
Yeah.
at very least, if we're going to give it any merits here, we do give it a merit as clearly a comedy meant to be a comedy. That makes complete sense. Chaz, I loved ChatGPT's selection for number 7.
I love the human selection. Okay.
An Indie Darling, I think would probably fall into probably one of your favorite films in that era, just because of who directed this. But Hunt for the Wilder People, 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, is there at number 7.
It's my favorite Taika Waititi movie.
It's very, very good. Which, shockingly, again, not spoiling, but the boy in that film also ends up in another comedy film on this list.
Same.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty funny. So what did you have?
Number 7, 85%. This was just a good time, and it's Game Night. Again, Jesse Plemons steals the show. We talked about him last week, I think. Fantastic.
Yeah, Game Night will be making its way on this list here shortly. Game Night is underrated. Mm-hmm. I don't think it gets enough credit that it deserves. And again, a movie I would firmly plant in the comedy. It's not really much of anything else. It's got some action, but it's clearly 100% through and through a comedy. Number 6 on my list is The Nice Guys, 91%. You and I agree would probably be more of a comedy than it would an action film, but you could it is blended.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll go ahead and preview your list a little bit with my number 6 with 84% Rotten Tomatoes. It is Deadpool 2.
I do not have Deadpool 2 on this list. But
What other movie has this kid been in? What other comedy?
I'm sorry. He wasn't in the first one, was he?
No, he was in the second.
He was in the second one. You are right. I was trying to remember. I was like, wait, wasn't he in the first one? You are right. All right. My next one, I would very much push against. I did not like this movie. I didn't think this movie was funny. I don't think it's a very good comedy. I didn't enjoy it. I just through and through did not enjoy it. It has a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's Booksmart.
Oh, dang.
It is a comedy.
Okay, Booksmart. Yeah.
But I would not say it was a comedy I enjoyed, or just a movie I enjoyed.
I would say the bottom 3 for me, so the one that just didn't make it was Booksmart. And then the 2 that I cut off to make it an 8 number list was Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and Good Boys. Good Boys and Booksmart hit that same little trend there.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
And it seems to
That's
be
interesting too. Would I say Jumanji's a comedy?
right. Yeah, that's what humans say.
Well, this is the problem with the comedy genre. It's not clear anymore. We just stopped making them. We're making like half and halves.
Yes. My number 5, 90% on RT, is Lego Batman.
Oh, that is a good one, actually. I wish I could have replaced Booksmart with Lego Batman, because Lego Batman I did not expect to laugh as much as I did at that movie. But it was kind of like the original Lego movie where I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. But Lego Batman was shockingly a very, very funny movie. All right, my next one is Game Night, which we just talked about, 85%.
Sweet.
Absolutely deserves to be there.
My number 4, 91%. We talked about it so many times on Real Movie Talk because it won the box office so many weeks in a row. I fondly call it Craisins, but it is Crazy Rich Asians.
I'm actually surprised this doesn't pick that one too. So that's probably a mix between comedy and drama. So it probably falls somewhere in there. I'm kind of surprised this didn't come up, but this is another one. I've never watched this movie. Who's the guy that directed this? This is directed by he did Trainwreck. He did Superbad.
That's a big sell for him.
Why am I blanking on his name right now, Chaz? You're gonna have to.
The director,
Yeah.
Evan Goldberg.
No. I'm sorry. He probably produced
Superbad?
Trainwreck. But no, I think he directed Superbad.
Superbad directors were Greg Matola.
No, I don't know who Greg Matola is.
He directed Superbad.
All right, he's the guy that. All right, this is the guy that writes. He wrote a ton of comedies in this era. Knocked Up, Superbad.
Judd Apatow?
Apatow, thank you. The Big Sick at number 3.
Okay.
98% on Rotten Tomatoes. I've never seen this. Have you seen this?
No, but it is on Amazon Prime.
I know it's I know it was kind of like almost like an indie darling there for a while.
It was Kumail Nanjiani's real story with his wife.
Yeah. Which he obviously stars in the film. But it kind of made me want to go check it out because I was like, maybe I know it's long, and that was like an Apatow thing. Is he just makes these super long movies for some reason? But it did make me, ChatGPT recommended it and made me think maybe I need to go check that out.
My number 3, I don't know. Is it a comedy? I mean, I laughed. It's funny, but is it a comedy? 97%, it's great. It's Knives Out.
Interesting. Okay. That one might be coming up here very shortly.
Okay.
I would agree with you completely. Would I call that a comedy? Probably not. I would probably say it's like
Mystery, right?
3 on the list. I would say it's more of a drama, a mystery, than a comedy. But my next one on the list is Deadpool, which we've already hit on. And then my number 1 is Knives Out. So what do you have?
Okay. Well, my number 2 is The Big Sick with 98%.
Yep.
I was thrilled with the human choice for number 1 and 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Can you guess? You've seen it. You love it. I've seen it. I love it. Can you guess what comedy has a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes from 2015 to 2022 or 2020? That would be the best comedy.
I'm gonna say. I want to say Bridesmaids, but I think that's even earlier than that, isn't it?
That's even earlier. It is Paddington 2.
I don't know. Would you cut that as a comedy?
No.
Like, why is that there?
mean, again, there's funny moments, but
Is there a category for a movie of charming? Because if that's the case,
there you
number
go.
1 movie of all time. For
Yes.
charming, number 1 movie of all time. So it's Paddington 2. Wow, a sequel of all things, right? I still get there's still like this area in my heart where I just feel this sense of joy every time I know that movie got a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, because that's virtually impossible of a score to get, especially for like a full release. Like an indie film can sometimes get there because it'll have a limited amount of people reviewing it, but we're talking hundreds and hundreds of viewers. Like, there is nothing in this world people would agree on as much as they do about Paddington 2. And that's, I think, there's something wonderful about that in my heart. But with that being said, that is the list. I would say both lists are pretty good. And in fact, when you get into like the top 4, they're all outside of Paddington 2.
Outside of Paddington.
They kind of fall into the same kind of categories there. I like that we both had Game Night on there. That one absolutely deserves it. Kind of cool that ChatGPT recommends Hunt for the Wilder People, but you didn't.
Yes.
That's a pretty cool addition there. So
yeah.
Yeah, I know you're cross-referenced
speaking
internet
for the humans.
for the human population, which apparently was Paddington 2. All right, so let's go down to the horror ones again. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10. Did I say that before?
Yes, I have 10 as well.
All right, cool. Starting at number 10. I never saw this. Wasn't this right before the pandemic? I think this was like right at the start of the pandemic. But Blumhouse original, The Invisible Man, with a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes, that was the start of the pandemic. They coincided.
Because it made a decent amount of money, if I remember. Mm-hmm. As like everything was shutting down, it was doing pretty hot. And it probably would have done huge numbers if not for the pandemic.
Not to tip my hat at anything, but I can tell you it made $70.4 million.
Wow.
I just know that off the top of my head. It's not really.
Yeah, you just know those numbers.
Number 10 for The Humans at 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. Only made $2.2 million. The lowest of anything on all 3 of my lists. The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Man, would you put that in a horror?
I have no clue. I've never watched it.
So this is the same director that created The Lobster. Very weird director, very artsy, loves Colin Farrell. I guess you could find a way to twist that into a horror, but I don't think I would have done that. But that's interesting. Okay, so that's number 10. ChatGPT's number 9. I actually gave it 2 scores here, which I think is somewhat relevant, was Midsummer. Okay. With an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes, or if you watch the director's cut, it is 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
The director's the only person who's reviewed it.
Yeah. There was I think it was like 8 or 9 reviews on there. So again, pretty limited bunch there. But Midsummer, it did have, so Ari Aster has directed 2 films. Both of those films might end up on this list.
Oh, snap. Number 9 is kind of out there. I don't know if you know anything about it. Got an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes, but there's a director's cut that has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's Midsummer. This is the first time it's been even?
Yeah, this is the first time that it has been completely even. So that's actually very impressive. We haven't gotten to that point yet. So if you want to definitively know what was the number 9 horror film between the dates of 2015 and 2020, well, there you go. It's Midsummer.
That's a killer trivia question.
Yeah, it is. So what did ChatGPT pick as its number 9 horror film between these dates? A Quiet Place, 96% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, dang. Okay. Number 8 with a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, The Lighthouse. Again, never seen it.
You've never seen it?
No.
The Lighthouse is one of those movies I enjoyed. Fine, I would say it's a horror film. I don't know if I could recommend it to somebody. I would have a hard time recommending that film because it's so specific. Chaz, are you okay? I see a tail wagging in the background. Your dogs just go nuts when you get on this podcast.
I feel like I look like Chris Pratt in the first Jurassic because I'm always holding my hands because that's how I tell my dogs to be quiet.
You're looking all over and you just keep looking. You cannot believe your dogs exist right now. But all that to say,
I do not like the mailman.
I would not. I would not recommend The Lighthouse just because it is so specifically weird. It's so specifically weird.
We had a coworker that was going to watch a movie around Halloween, I think it was. My recommendation was that she watch What We Do in the Shadows. She talked to you at some point, and she went and watched a movie. And I came over to her desk the next day, and I said, "Did you watch the movie?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, "What did you think of it?" And she said, "It was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life." And I thought, what? She said, "It was disgusting." And here I am thinking, what happened to What We Do in the Shadows? How do we see such a different movie? It's because she listened to you and went and saw The Lighthouse.
All right. To be completely fair, at that point, this is kind of funny. At that point, I hadn't seen the movie. So she said they wanted to go out to the theater to watch a movie. And I was like, oh, you know what has great reviews right now? It's The Lighthouse. You should go see that. Like, it's clearly everybody likes it. And it does. It has great reviews. People like the movie. So I wasn't wrong in recommending that film. But after seeing it, it was like, oh, yeah, I don't think I'd recommend this to anybody.
Yeah. And knowing who that was, it's probably not the best movie for that personality.
In fairness, when I did ask her if she liked it, yeah, that was basically the reaction she gave me. But she was like, I think I liked it, but I don't know what just happened. Like, I don't know what was happening in that movie. And after watching it, there's certain, like, you know, it's obviously symbolism for all these things. And once you kind of get the symbolism, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But you would not understand that if you were watching the film. So so that's kind of crazy. So the humans going weird here. The humans are like, go check this movie out.
Humans going weird. Humans like to go art house every now and again.
They do. Chaz, next on my list is Ari Aster's Hereditary, his original film that currently has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Although again, this is weird, what you are noticing a trend where horror films are becoming less slashery and more visually interesting, much more psychological, bigger things of dread and stuff like that. And Hereditary is kind of in that same vein where it's a very weird film. I think visually some scenes in it are just absolutely striking. I think the ending of the movie is really kind of creepy and scary. And so ChatGPT has Hereditary.
Stop chewing on your food dish.
He will not.
For my number 7, also a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, Anya Taylor-Joy hits the scene with The Witch.
Interesting.
Or
the Vivitch. So this, it really is. It's a sign of the time here where the horror films just, they get a little bit strange here. Not necessarily scary in so many ways as they are just kind of interesting. My next one on the list, ChatGPT recommends the 98% Get Out, the Jordan Peele original.
This is number what on your list? 6?
That's number 6, yeah.
Dang. Okay. My number 6 is It. Remember It that we talked about for 7 years?
Yes. And you know what, Chaz? This is again where I think the humans get it right a little bit more than ChatGPT here, because I would recommend, I think It, as a just horror film, not being artsy, not being any of that, just being straight up scary clown-eating children, that absolutely deserves to be on this list. So I think humans get this one right.
Humans might let you down in the top 5, just to let you know.
All right. Something to look forward to. Chaz, I had next to no knowledge of this next film, but I then went and looked it up. In fact, 2 films on here I've now have on my next to watch list, thanks to ChatGPT, because then it asks you, are you interested in seeing any of these films? And then it'll say, and if you're like, yeah, I'd like to see this one, it'll tell you where to go stream it. Thank you, ChatGPT. The next one here is The Autopsy of Jane Doe. 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. Don't recall this one.
Yeah. Neither. Have nothing to add to that.
Perfect. So I couldn't tell you if this was a good or a bad selection here, but it did recommend it for me, so I will check it out.
My number 5 is 90% Rotten Tomatoes. You've already said it, Hereditary.
Awesome. Again, a film I had never seen before, 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought this came out way more recently, but I think it's because I'm getting it confused with Bones and All. This is Raw. just a
That was, yeah.
cannibalism drama. Just the perfect.
Just your run of the
That genre where there's like cannibals and it's like a drama. That's what this is.
Oh man, Humans 92%. The Invisible Man.
That's a good choice. So I ended up on both of these. The robots have selected next. They have Green Room. So
Okay.
again, don't know if I'd straight up put this in the horror category.
Yeah.
It's obviously, I would say more thriller than I would necessarily a horror. This is a Patrick Stewart joint. Who gets to play as a neo-Nazi, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. They didn't have to shave his head, already shaven for you. So
That's
I didn't
why
have
it
to
was
worry about
cast.
that. And then this has the who was the kid from Star Trek that passed away?
Anton Yeltich or
Yeah,
Yelkin? Yelkin?
Yeah,
Yelchin?
Yelkin.
Anton.
I don't remember his name. I know it was Anton. Anton, you are correct. So he was in the Green Room as well. So that is number 3 on the list.
In the top 3 for the Humans are all about Jordan Peele right now. So you're going to get 2 Jordan Peele movies in the top 3. With number 3, 93% Us.
I'd say that's pretty solid. Like I guess I'd put that in my top 3. I think that's actually traditionally pretty scary. I know when it comes to Jordan Peele is known, and I think rightfully so, as somebody that kind of follows the Twilight Zone. That kind of seems to be where he lands. I mean, I guess you would label that there as horror. So I don't think that's a bad call there. Chaz, I'm really curious if this ends up in the top 3 for Humans. Number 2, The Babadook.
Oh, no, not on the list.
That has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Also, I would agree with that. I like The Babadook. Would I put it in my top 3? Maybe I put it more close down to 5, but all in all, an excellent film.
Number 2 for the Humans, 96%, A Quiet Place.
Okay. I think you and I would both agree that should be higher than 7, which is what the robots picked.
I'd put it top 5.
I would too. I thought A Quiet Place was great. That is a great PG-13 horror film. My number 1, and I have already begun watching this because ChatGPT told me where I could find it. This is an Iranian film.
Okay.
Shot in black and white.
Okay.
Called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. 96% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Interesting.
It's very artsy.
Okay.
So far, I'm about a third of the way through the movie because I paused it to go record this. It being an indie film is smart to shoot it in black and white. You kind of forget how much you can probably get away with by doing that. Again, would I call this a straight horror? Not so far. I would call this more of a drama, a social commentary than I would just a straight horror, but
Okay.
It's got elements.
Interesting. Iranian movies making it onto the list. I like it. You've already said our number 1 with the Humans, 98% Rotten Tomatoes, $176.1 million at the box office. Jordan Peele's debut with Get Out.
Yeah. Which I would guess if we were just basing this off of Rotten Tomato scores, right? That is the highest. Yeah, that and The Babadook are both the highest according to Rotten Tomato scores. So that is probably a much more accurate place and where it belongs. So that makes sense.
There you have it. Some good recommendations on both sides, I think.
Honestly, ChatGPT, the robots did better than I expected. And like I said, when I originally looked at this list, I was like, man, this is a weird list. I don't like this list. And then the more I kind of delved into it a little bit, I was like, oh, I actually don't think it's too bad. However, you mentioning some names that I was like, yeah, no, that's an obvious slam dunk. But yeah, all in all, the robot does pretty good here. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either. The robots are taking over. That's just the way it is.
And again, if you're listening to this 5 years from now, you're listening to us go, stop talking to it.
Yeah.
You don't know what it's going to do to you. And then, we're now slaves to the robots.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're in the Matrix at this point. But, hey, it was bound to happen sooner or later, right?
It's true.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
See ya.